We've all been there, right? Facing some kind of hardship. But what if those tough moments, what if they weren't just obstacles to get over, but the actual tools we need to build a stronger, more purposeful self? Today, we're going to dig into a framework from our sources that shows exactly how to turn that struggle into strength. So let's get into it.
Our sources kick things off with this amazing quote from John Milton, and it really nails the core idea here. Because whether a situation feels like a heaven or a hell for us, well, it often has way less to do with the situation itself and everything to do with the battle that's happening right up here in our own minds.
So let's start right there with that internal struggle. This framework argues that our biggest challenges, the fear, the anxiety, the worry, they're not just outside forces. Nope. They are battles that are fought and won right inside our own heads.
It's a really good question, isn't it? I mean, we spend so much time and energy trying to control everything on the outside, our jobs, our money, what people think about us. But is that where the real fight for our peace of mind is actually going down?
According to the framework in our sources, the answer is a clear and simple no. The primary battlefield, the main event, is the mind. It's that space where your inner critic is duking it out with your inner champion. And mastering this internal world, well, that's the very first step toward building real mental strength. Okay, so if the battle is in our mind, how do we arm ourselves for it? How do we get ready? The next step in this framework is all about building a solid foundation to stand on.
Our sources use this incredible analogy. Just think about it. You can hustle and climb your entire life, but if that ladder is leaning against the wrong wall, all that work, all that effort, it's for nothing. It's such a powerful reminder to stop and ask yourself, what am I really building my life on? In this slide right here, it gets to the absolute heart of the framework's core choice. The sources lay out two basic ways to center your life. The first is a me-first approach. And they argue that this path, well, it pretty much always leads to chronic worry about whatever you've put at the center. The alternative they put forward is a God-first life, which they claim is the only path to true freedom from that kind of crippling anxiety. It's from this God-first foundation, the sources say, that you can build true mental toughness. And just look at the definition here. It's not about being some kind of superhero who's physically invincible. No, it's about developing a will and a mind that are so resilient they can actually override your body's instinct to just give up. It's the raw grit to take a hit and keep moving forward. And get this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. The sources actually point to neuroscience, and this is fascinating. Research suggests that when we do what's called undesired effort, which is basically just doing hard things we don't feel like doing, it can physically change our brains. Pushing through resistance literally builds a stronger mind, kind of like how lifting weights built stronger muscles. This whole idea of embracing that undesired effort is the perfect bridge to our next section. It explores one of the framework's most challenging ideas. That difficulty, and even delay, aren't random. They actually have a very specific purpose.
I mean, this quote just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? The framework basically argues that while being comfortable feels good, it's actually a terrible teacher. There are certain qualities, like deep empathy, resilience, real strength, that can only be forged in the fire of adversity. Comfort just doesn't produce those things.
So the source material breaks down this purposeful suffering into three key things. First, hardship reveals who you really are, when all the easy answers are gone. Second, it's like a training ground, actively building the character and strength you're going to need down the road. And finally, it's preparation. It's getting you ready for a future you might not even be able to see yet. And this illustrates the two mindsets so well. You see the fork in the road here, right? If your number one goal in life is just to be comfortable, then any hardship is going to feel like this huge, frustrating interruption. But if your goal is to grow, then that very same hardship becomes an absolutely crucial part of the journey. It's all about your perspective.
Of course, a huge part of this process involves something most of us are, let's be honest, terrible at: waiting. We want growth, and we want it now. Our sources capture this tension perfectly with this simple but really profound idea. God wears a different watch than you.
So what this framework does is it completely flips the script on waiting. It's not a punishment, it's preparation. It's that necessary time you need to develop the character and strength to handle whatever is coming next. The sources put it simply, it's the period when your soul grows up.
But what happens when we stumble? I mean, we all do. What about failure? This next section tackles how this framework helps us reframe one of our deepest, most common fears.
The sources pose a question here that's, well, it's kind of radical.
We tend to carry our failures around like they're a permanent part of our identity. But what if that's just completely wrong? What if failure isn't who you are?
And here it is. This is the key takeaway, and it is so important. A failure is something that happens to you. It's an event that took place in time. It is not and never can be the definition of you.
According to the source material, after any failure, there are two voices competing for your attention. On one side, you've got the accuser, that little voice whispering, "You blew it, it's over, you can't be used now." But on the other side, the framework presents what it calls God's truth. You are forgiven. I am not finished with you.
So the whole point here is to consciously, intentionally reject the label of failure and replace it. This framework offers a brand new identity, one that's not rooted in how well you perform, but in how the sources say God sees you, as a child of God, as forgiven, as made new, as an overcomer.
So after all this, after fighting the battle in the mind, building the right foundation, and learning to see hardship and failure differently, where does it all lead? What's the end game here?
The ultimate outcome that our sources describe is this profound transformation. It's a person who becomes deeply resilient, quick to forgive, but maybe most importantly, they find a new sense of purpose that wasn't discovered by avoiding their trials, but was actually forged through them.
You know, C.S. Lewis, who is referenced in the sources, put it so perfectly. The difficulties we face, they aren't roadblocks to our destiny. A lot of the time, they are the very things preparing us for it.
And that brings us right back to where we started, with a choice.